talking about recording these, and I'm sitting here in a tank top and a little informal, but I figure let's record this. Let's get into that flow, and then let's plant the seeds for a professional recording. I have some ideas on how to do this next time.
Okay. I mean, yeah, happy to do whatever feels alive. I can, give you a run through on things if that feels good. You can sit with it for a week and then, or even a couple days. I do think that to me feels the best is actually in the conversational style, having, some dialogue where you can even prompt and, pull some stuff out.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what today is kind of a run through.
Mhm.
But I just time and time again, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly where it is. That's, what resonates. That's what vibrates for people. And would love to extrapolate that from, our conversations and just been loving these, man. I gotta say, like, it definitely is something that every time I'm like, I got too much going on. I'm like, no, I got total time.
Thank you for showing up, bro, for yourself, for each other in the world. Yeah, this definitely feels good. I feel like what we're tuning into is how to create ways to live in an optimal state of being through some of these opportunities that don't necessarily require us to come up with all the answers at once. We can do it together. And I'm in a state of curiosity about the Healy. I guess what I would like to understand in this call is how we connect the dots between the science. We don't have to cover all this in this call, but the science, the the effectiveness of the Healy since you've been using it, and maybe touch base on the business model a bit, because there's a lot of ways of looking at this from the old paradigm, but we're now shifting into a new one. And I think the opportunity that is being presented for people who are open and curious about creating these alternative revenue streams may have some interest in the way we break it down in a more authentic way. I think that would be my goal, is like, how do we really make it feel authentic? And just one tidbit to kind of put in there is that I had it broken down for me as, rather than this top-down marketing funnel or marketing multi-level marketing thing, rather than looking at it as a tree. So you have the roots of the tree and then branching off of the tree. So maybe we can explore how to just reshift the narrative around how these things can work, because this is all network, it's all trust, it's all about integrity. And I want to continue to be open to these conversations when they come up, and not look at it as like, oh wait, what is this thing? Is this pyramid scheme? No, it's not. Like, these are high level people having high level conversations about really effective products. So that's my intention. I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, no, those three, I think, pillars are good. The fourth, and I think that kind of wraps into the third one, is empowerment. And actually, really, instead of looking at it from a standpoint of, that top down, where that, we'll just say pyramid, because I think there's, tons of pyramids out there that we just don't call pyramids because we don't look at them that way. But I think when we switch from basically, business models that just extrapolate and take from the system and look at it from a foundational side. So where this isn't just a thing of, okay, who you connected to, how can you get them to buy it? How can you do these things? How can you actually look at it as empowering the business model of what people are doing anyway? And I think anytime you get involved in this type of model, you really should have other things that you also can diversify your energy into, because that also defers a lot of the inherent built-in kind of frenetic energy that sometimes people can experience. And it really can be quite both, I don't want to say harmful, but, it can actually really, disempower the relationships that you're engaging in, rather than like actually saying, okay, how do I not only, show, somebody something that I'm curious and excited about, but how do I also help them thinking about what they're doing overall, and what's the holistic model that we're actually going for. So
Mm.
yeah, I can just drop right in and start with, I think, the science side.
Mm.
Uh, so, we'll specifically just kind of work around the Healy today. There's, I think, the four channels that I am really starting to look at are frequency, sound, light, and water.
Mm.
So,
Four,
really
four ways. Four.
four things that are these delivery mechanisms.
Mm.
The three, the further three, the light, sound, and water are actually all delivery mechanisms for frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So our
Mm.
body, all of our body parts, all of our functionalities have their own frequencies. So you have, based off Chinese medicine, or you can look at, quantum. You can look at so many different ways to, see where frequency really is a core foundation, pretty much, that I think is truly acknowledged and accepted in even the scientific world right now. And so I think really what Healy is specifically interesting to me, because it's a device that complements the body's systems and actually allows things to more quickly return to homeostasis balance. So homeostasis and balance are the two key words that I really like to kind of focus on, instead of this is going to solve things, this is going to fix things. It's just going to allow the body to do what it does, and actually kind of bypasses this operating system, which quite often can shut down the body's system of doing what it does. So the body's frequencies, we'll just speak about the body's frequencies, in today's context, really derives from, gets out of whack from injury, from trauma, and from just general apathy. I think those are three ways that the body starts actually bringing in dis-ease, or just, general, you know, dysfunction. And so the ways that we can, support that, that is, I think in the past been flower essences, essential oils. I think we've known about those types of, mechanisms, or again, another delivery system of how are we getting that frequency into the body, and how can we actually start letting the body get back to its original pattern. And so over the years, they've, I think, kind of identified 140,000 frequencies that the body and its functions. So it's not just the body parts, it's the functions. So just like sleep, you can have just your normal sleep, or you can have, that really exacerbated, exhausted sleep, where you're just like, oh, the body's actually at a very different tempo and a vibrancy and frequency when you are going and entering into sleep at that place.
Mm.
Um, and so, Nikolai Tesla is, I think, kind of one of the original kind of explorers of this type of work. And then you also get into the quantum science, which was more Einstein, and there's lots of other players that I think have recognized that there's, these really underlying subtle things going on, but we always kind of look at just like, especially in Western medicine, how are we reactive, and how do we just solve the problem, and how do I just fix the issue that is apparent, versus looking at, well, what's underneath that, where's the energy, what's actually happening on the more subtle level. As a yoga enthusiast, they say the issues are in the tissues, and
Ah.
so it's like what's foundationally getting imprinted in there and stored in a cellular way. So when you can start working with the body, and I mean, I love that there's actually something that can be, just a tool that also can just, I can still do the other things that I'm doing. I love meditation. That's probably my number one thing that is my go-to and kind of keeping me centered. But, in today's busy world, we only have so much time. So how do we also, start allowing other processes and tools to actually complement just these, things that we're all seeking? And yeah, just like you, I think I was like, okay, well, yeah, do I really need a tool? I'm a big fan of just the organic, the natural processes that we kind of should be doing anyway. But I also think, well, if I could also be complementing that in ways that sometimes my mind can't even do, well, yeah, I should probably be open to it. And I'm happy that I continue to be curious, and that word is really, I think, important in the journey, is the curiosity and the allowing for whatever actually might happen to actually happen. So
Yeah.
the science side, um,
Look, can I
you know,
reflect on this part for just a bit, Michael? Because we've got a lot of things that are juicy in there. I mean, one of the things that's juicy for me, coming from 9 years of medical experience, when I was working with neuro and orthopedic spine surgeons, it was always very clear that we were treating the symptom, not the cause. And I think what's interesting about what you're sharing about this technology is that it's really empowering the body to do what it does on a natural healing level. Like, we are incredibly resilient. And as we're learning in this COVID time, we're actually much more resilient than we thought. At the beginning of COVID, people were very scared, and people are still in that state. But I'm finding that my conversations, and I'm also feeling this, I'm feeling much more aware of like how much I can take care of my body. And I think what is interesting about this device is that it empowers us to just sort of intuitively tune into the thing that we feel is going on and allow the body, through the conduit of this device, to begin a healing process. Is that accurate in your experience about how this thing works?
Yes, I would completely agree with that, both on, that first level of using your own intuition of here's what's kind of going on. And then there is also the other side. There is, for people, the residence model of the Healy, which is more a practitioner model, which can do more a quantum scan of your frequency, your signature frequency, and really actually tune into giving analysis and suggestions on what you might want to do. But I think today we'll kind of focus more on the microcurrent side, which I think is where I've had other devices in that I've used over the years. This technology, frequency technology, has not it's not new. It's been around for a while. But what is really new about it is the way that the Healy specifically uses our phones, which are pretty much supercomputers these days, that then can do these more in real-time analysis of not only providing different frequencies, and so you're not actually having to use a big machine that's kind of wonky, and you're having to dial all these things in. So it takes 30 minutes just to get set up for one kind of result that you're getting out. What I love is that actually with the Healy, you have a program or a protocol such as calm or release or sleep, and these different things that actually have 400 frequencies that it's actually
Focus, heart, crown
exactly.
chakra, these go into different layers of practical to esoteric, do they not?
Exactly. And what's mind blowing to me is that it's actually going through and then quickly analyzing and saying, okay, this is actually what the body needs right now in that protocol. So it is saying, okay, it's going through this full litany of different frequencies and then actually testing in the body through, just pretty much a wearable, whether you're, hooking in as a wristband. There's also patches if you're doing more acute or localized things such as pain management. There's just a number of ways that this can really be delivered into the system. But then what it's doing is it's saying, okay, at this hertz, like, is it getting a strong feedback? Is it actually with that kind of more checking for homeostasis? Because really, they have identified, it's not just Healy, but the scientists, that have been really exploring frequency technology or just therapy over the years have identified these frequencies of where is the actual normal body's vibration or resonation of what it should be operating at. So then it's checking that and it's saying, okay, if that's off, it actually is sitting there for a brief duration and then kind of putting that back into the body so that the body's like, oh wait, I forgot about this. Like, hold on, let me readjust. And it's just, I think it's the analogy of the piano tuning is my favorite because most people don't realize that unlike a guitar or something like that, where you just kind of tune to just that note and you have your 5 chords and you're just really going off or your 5 strings, piano is actually these, it's more like the body where you actually, once you tune this, then that needs to be tuned. So all these different piano keys actually have to, really, it's not an easy process. Like, I think being a piano tuner is probably a good business to be in if you want to do that type of work because it takes a while and it's a process. And because once you adjust this thing, well, that needs to be adjusted again. So it's about kind of getting to this unique place of true balance. Yeah.
And to reflect on this bit about frequency technology has been around a long time. And what's changed now is the phone, right? So we're able to use our own mobile device through their mobile app, which I understand is going through some upgrades. And we'll be at a point, well, we are at a point, and we'll be at a point even sooner where we have the ability to really tune these things in either locally, like one-on-one, if you're with someone right in the same space, or remotely. Is this right? Like, you've had experience in both, and that's actually what's sort of different about what frequency technology has evolved into in this time, and specifically with this Healy device, we're able to bring in clients as a coach, as a teacher, as a creator. Am I able to bring in people into my physical reality and my extended virtual network with this
Correct.
with this device?
Yeah, and I think just like Reiki, really Reiki is delivering frequency and helping the body return to its homeostasis. So that's anybody that's familiar with that and a lot of Chinese medicine, that's what that type of work does. And there's with Reiki, there's people that can do remote healings and remote work, and so I think when you can get into the quantum side, and I think we can really go down that rabbit hole because that is a very different conversation just about the quantum theory, quantum entanglement, and coherence and resonance. That is a very big and more, I would say, kind of thick space to try to get into and through the headspace. But yes, there has been things I've used alpha stem. There's that basically something you clip to the ears and just does a low microcurrent technology that then helps with anxiety and stuff like that. I used to use that in college for exams and stuff like that. So there's a number of different things in that space. There's also from the athletics side and people that are wanting to be functioning at their optimal place and actually helping the body's regeneration. There's STEM tech and stuff that is really more localized, which again, there's different ways of that. But the way that this would complement somebody who's an athlete, or you have like a scar or something that's rebuilding, you can just kind of talk to the body and say, well, and really making sure that it's being able to not have to function and like be aware of all this other stuff, just like it's like a video game of sorts where you have your ground control and you have these attacks kind of coming from one side, and it really, you want to remind the body like, oh, we need to also make sure to focus on this too, because sometimes we do have the bodies dealing with other things as well. So when we can allow the mind to bring back some attention to other places, it's quite interesting, I think, to recognize how we can again just ease down and actually remind the body that this isn't, we're not under attack. And the body was built to flight or fight instincts, that, we might have a tiger attacking, or we might have these other things that really the brain is built to defend, but we're not in that. So how do we just bring it back a little bit, allow things to slow down so that the energy can actually be more spread out versus it just shooting to one place because we've developed really bad patterning. And yeah, I think you get that in a lot of ways.
And just to reflect on the Reiki conversation, this is just a little side note for us for this recording later. I don't necessarily feel that there's as many people as we'd like that know about Reiki, or this type of energetic healing. I guess perhaps a way to frame it could be, do you believe in experiential learning online? And that's really what this is about, is shifting into this. And I've seen this in an online training I just finished, a cacao training with 35 people, and seeing how transformative it was for those people with just the Zoom calls and the recorded videos, which is exactly how it was run. Live ceremony on the call once per week, grouped together with recorded videos, which is exactly what I'm doing for my creator training in the next couple of weeks. I guess my curiosity is, does it make sense to create a protocol, a course, a system for the Healy where people can get on board together in live and recorded situations and have experiences, have healing directly from the device, where it doesn't take this, it doesn't necessitate us believing in energetic healing, such as Reiki, which I would say is very, very niche, which is what's cool about it, but it also makes it a little bit more limited for people. Do you think it's possible for people to have this experience with the aid of the sort of greater framework of energy that we're all tapped into, especially now that we do have this technology so available?
Yeah, and we can, I think, drop into that a little bit more on the empowerment word that I use, where this could complement not only just a monetary of like, oh, hey, I sold this, I get an affiliate or a rev share on that,
Right.
Through the network marketing side. I think really that gets into more, how does this complement, especially these teachers, facilitators, healers, practitioners, uh,
Breaking up, Mike.
the market. So I'm still, even just, oh, okay, hold on. All right, we're back.
Connection. I seem to be connected. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. What was that last part?
So yeah, I was just saying that, as I continue to explore this, I will say that from what my felt experiences is that what you were just referring to, the Healy definitely can do that quantum side for a group and actually, in a remote way, actually facilitate the coherence and energy of a group dynamic. But I think that there needs to be a certain capacity for people to drop into that place of coherence to allow for that to really be meaningful and to actually again, not have the mind override and say, no, I don't,
You got to create space for it. You can't just turn on the device and expect it to work. You need to be an active participant, which is actually the same as any practice we do, yoga, meditation, everything. We can't just turn on a Headspace app and expect results to come. We need to actively choose to be a part of it.
Yeah. But with the wearable side and the actual, part where you have the microcurrent, that actually, I don't think needs to have such a level of both intention as well as capacity to just allow that in. It does, because you still want the body to recognize, like, I'm trusting this, I'm allowing this energy to basically help reconfigure some of the processes. But I will say that I think, it does have a very different, I think, kind of methodology of delivering the frequencies when you actually have it felt in through the body, where you're actually tapped into the device itself in a more real-time connection. So yeah, we can, I think, stay with more just that side. But yes, I completely agree that there's group technology that this could flow into. There's, so many different things. And I think now is probably the time to, shift into more that side
I was just
of,
going to go there.
yeah.
So my question for you on that, Mike, and yes, let's just go over what we've covered so far. So we've talked about the science, we've talked about the applications, the use cases. You and I, now let's shift into a little bit of sort of like how this fits in for people like us. We know a lot of yoga teachers, wellness practitioners, healers, weavers, guides, creators, entrepreneurs, right? And everything has shifted now with COVID not being able to go into physical spaces. We don't know when that's going to change. It's probably never going to change that we go never that we just replace everything that we're doing online with offline, right? We're going to have to find a way to continue to work in these ways. So my curiosity is how this opportunity presents itself for the people that we know that are all the people I sort of just named, and how we implement that into our business in a way that really feels authentic and also produces significant results, because we don't want to put time into something that isn't really going to move the needle. Like, we've got to have it at least give us that bump on a month, 2 month, 3 month basis. Let's say we put a month or two in, by month 3 or 4, we want to start seeing some results, right? So, how do we fit this in a way that feels good and also is producing results?
Sure. Well, I'll start with, I think, kind of that second pillar still, just to make sure that we fully round that out with the applications. So, there's the sleep protocols, which I've definitely, had some noticeable differences, and I have people that I've worked with, and also just, people that also have the device themselves that actually have insomnia and things like that, where they've actually had quite noticeable differences. Myself, I've had, some things with a business acquisition that we're currently going through, and acquiring a company out of Chicago that, dealing with lawyers and dealing with, lots of moving parts that can put you into this space of contraction where, as an entrepreneur, I get that every now and then, that really kind of tense, energetic place where it feels really, yeah, not good, and it can actually, take me and down paths that I don't need to mentally. So how can we actually? I've used the device in those exact moments where 30 seconds later, I've actually moved that energy, and it hasn't been such a thing where I want to bypass, I want to numb, I want to just not deal with that stuff. I think it allows me to really stay present and centered in ways that, especially as an entrepreneur, can be quite game changing, and not game changing in the sense of what I'm producing, but game changing in what it saves me from maybe spiraling and doing. So I think when you're using the device, of course, if you're at a really good place overall, again, you want to be proactive. You want to be attending to making sure that you're always still functioning at that place. But I definitely know that, the experiences where people are like, oh, wow, this has really shifted this. That's when things are already kind of out of whack. And of course, you need to have something from that baseline to notice, oh, wait, this is shifting. So just something I think is important to kind of just drop into the conversation about, where, just to have awareness when you're talking to people about, especially when they're like, oh yeah, well, I didn't notice anything. Well, are they, already in a good place with that? Or, what are we really trying to work on? And so when that, place is a little bit out of whack for me and the things that I've seen happen, it's really noticeable when, something's out of whack. So you have that baseline to, test that out against. Then going into the, I think, kind of third and fourth pillars is really with that empowerment. You know, I'm really more excited about this device from, of course, the use for myself and just how that can help. But for my business, we are not only trying to help the public, but our clients are really actually the teachers, the facilitators, the businesses, because so many people don't come from business backgrounds. They really are here from a passion standpoint. They're here because they want to give their gift, and they, quite often don't want to sell themselves. They don't want to. It's hard for people to say, here's my value, and actually lean in there. And I think you and I are both Sherpas in that way of actually like helping people understand, like, oh, here's really what I should be
Value.
asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And um, so, we'll just start with the first place that quite often, especially now that we are in this very changed world, and it doesn't seem that that's going back to normalcy anytime soon, if ever. Studio models, a lot of the things that people would rely on aren't there anymore. So many of these people are actually now needing to look at, what am I actually branding myself? How am I actually going to function as a business? This isn't just like, oh, I just show up, I do my thing, and I leave. You need to take ownership of this at this point. And, it can be overwhelming, it can be scary, but it can also be exciting. And I think that this, time of COVID actually has created a lot of opportunities for creativity, for co-creation, for these things for people to really lean into and actually get excited about. So to me, the Healy is just actually another co-creator that you can actually bring into the mix and just kind of have there always. And so when you can add that into your list of services, yes, you could say, oh, I'll charge, for, X amount of dollars more. I'll also do a 15-20 minute extra service for you. Definitely is a place that some people will be going. But I actually look at it as, how do we actually look at the long game? How do we not just look at things as one-off services? How do we say, okay, well, yeah, great. You want to come in for breath work? We can definitely do a one-off session, one-on-one, and that can be meaningful. But are you really wanting to like actually do neuroplasticity work and really work with doing integration of these
Integration.
practices?
This
Yeah,
is it. This is
yeah,
the
and
nugget. Yeah.
yeah, it's so the nugget. This is all that gets me actually really uh, enlivened in these conversations, is like, let's talk about how we can then say, okay, cool, let's do a 5, a 10 pack, and then not discount the service by doing that. Because of course people are like, well, yeah, I mean, I'd like that, but I don't know if I want to financially commit. There's just always a inherent resistance. So people always, I think traditionally have gone down the path of, okay, well, I'll give you a discount. Fine, that's very valid. It works. We've all experienced it one way or another, of both being the purchaser of that, or probably also in some way, shape, or form also being on the other side, saying, okay, well, this just seems to be the easiest way. If you buy multiple, I'll give you a discount, whatever that is. So here's where it gets really interesting. Is like, well, let's look at first what you're actually doing with your clients. So let's just stay with the breathwork scenario. uh, Most of the time, I'm hoping that people are actually having some communication before they drop into breath work,
Mm.
from a facilitator practitioner level of like, hey, what's actually going on? Like, let's just drop in first. Let's get the mind out of that go mode. Let's actually drop in. Let's settle down the nervous system. Let's actually, put some intention around what we're actually trying to do during this service, and during this methodology and practice. So while you're doing that, bam, you have a 15-20 minute window that you already can say, hey, let me just put this wearable on you. You can show them. I think the other huge thing about the Healy that is unique is that, because it's not only using the functionality and the processing power of the phone, is that the mind already loves the phone. We all have our smartphones these days. We love apps. All relative kind of statement there, but there's a trust there. Fitbits, all these things have trained us as a society, especially in the Western side, to appreciate these things and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I know this seems safe. And trust is really the word that I think that we need to also make sure that we're maintaining as we use the Healy. So it's not just something you're just slapping on, though it doesn't need to take as much intention and awareness, with especially the microcurrent side. I really would never recommend anybody just kind of flailing around. You don't want to be just doing 10 programs a day because your body's still just going to get thrown out of whack. You really need to be conscious to what you're doing, just like nutrition, just like all these things. Like, just make sure you know what you're doing. Don't just do it because, oh, it works. That's where people go way off course. They don't actually say, wait, why am I doing so much, fasting, like to the point where it just gets unhealthy? Where am I not putting the right nutrients in the body? Especially as we get more into vegan, vegetarian, plant-based diets, and we need to make sure that we're really looking at things, and especially the detoxing, all this stuff. Let's just always make sure we're having conversation with ourselves first and foremost. Yes, we want to have practitioners and people that give us the protocols and that we trust, the doctors, all those people, but we need to be our own advocates. And I think that also is such a big awareness thing that's needing to happen in our world right now, is like, well, I have self-sovereignty still. I know what's right for me, because we are all different. And we are also not just different, we're always in a very different place. That it's just not, this, okay, here, you take this pill, great. We've seen that, that model, and that just doesn't work out so well quite often. So
Well,
sticking with,
I want to reflect on
go
the integration piece, and then I'd like to get into the next part here, just to keep us on time, which I would
yep.
probably call like the opportunity or the abundance piece. But I just want to reflect on this integration piece, because I think this is really important. And I love your breathwork example. And you hear, or I've witnessed, especially while living in Bali and now in New York, where people have amazing, profound experiences, but then they go out into the street or into their car, and then they just immediately shift back into normal reality, right? So there's a missing link there. The integration between this profound experience of a breath work, a yoga class, a meditation, a sound bath, whatever the modality is, and how you transition that into a conversation with a friend, a conversation with a colleague, a conversation with family. I think that's a really big thing missing for a lot of students, and for the teachers, that we cater to and we serve. How do we empower them with more tools to integrate the practice? So if you're going to offer these different modalities, how can working with technology, working with something like the Healy and your phone, empower that, or build that bridge, that integration bridge between this profound experience and the real world, right? I think that's um, a big thing that's missing for a lot of practitioners. Would you agree?
I would completely agree. And yeah, I just love that you continue just to pick up on the things, and also, thank you for just working with my excitement, just because it feels so good to be in residence with you discussing this, because there's so many facets to me that I'm like, oh wait, wow, I know this from this other place. Like I've seen this happen, for where the breakdown is. And that really is such where my mind is, how do we empower these self-limiting beliefs to go away, to actually drop into what we actually really can then lean into in this really more magical way, rather than it just needing to be such a process and such a thing where it's just so many times we stop short. We don't allow for the integration. We don't allow for the empowerment to actually trust our own selves. We don't allow for us to actually have ownership of what our gift is, and say, wow, here is me, here's my gift, and I know its value. And that to me is where we actually are needing to up the whole level of all the people, because once everybody can up level, unfortunately I saw with the yoga world, everybody got into the discount model, and it really started becoming people are like, well, if I can just do it on YouTube, why would I come and pay for this? Or if I can go to a franchise, at a very cheap rate, why would I go in and pay for one-on-one? Like, why would I do that? I can figure it out. But we don't. Our minds sabotage us 9 out of 10 times. And we really need to do work with people that can, from a outside perspective, help guide us, because the mind does not look at the body the same way. It looks at it from a preventative, it looks at it from a very skewed place versus where somebody from an outside place can look at it.
Yeah. Excellent. So just keeping us in the flow here, and yeah, just to, again, a little side note, I'm definitely interested for us both to review this and for you to, be able to articulate all these points in these little nuggets, these little packets. So I think, again, after this, we can revisit maybe doing a little brief, maybe putting it together piece by piece, so it's just super concise. But this already feels really good and really clear.
Yeah.
But we can, of course, improve it. I think the last part to cover here, and again, we'll review the film and take a look at how to really articulate this last part here. But if we're covering the science and the applications, the use cases, the integration, and the empowerment, which I think is all really strong, our strong pillars. Maybe we got 4 pillars here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Empowerment slash abundance. This word that a lot of people are now really needing to sort of like quantify for themselves. Like, okay, I don't have these as options. I don't get to just show up to a studio and walk out like you just said. How do I become a creative entrepreneur in a way where I can leverage these different modalities? Let's talk a little bit about how the model works, how it's different than our old perceptions of what these things are, and shift into a new perception, because it is all perception, is it not? And it is all the way that we show up and share it. And if we're being authentic and we're being real with people, we're being genuine, we can see how the model does work, and it can work effectively. But if we approach it from this space of neediness or graspiness, or like, oh, you got to get onto this, it's going to be those old stories, right? So, I mean, it is mindset, perception. So how do we activate this, and what has been your experience so far?
Yeah, so the opportunity side of this is actually really unique, especially being a serial entrepreneur. I really like kind of understanding the business system of it, and where I think what I originally would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, all you're really trying to do is get people under you, and it's this whole, let's just use the word MLM, or pyramid in some ways, and some other, I think, kind of products, which really do
MLM
have.
meaning multi-level marketing.
Correct.
Right.
I think network marketing is kind of the newer kind of term, but I think when you really actually think about network marketing, there's actually this kind of interesting place that network marketing can actually be really co-creative and actually fun, and this whole more team standpoint. And I haven't done other models, and I have lots of people that we work with and friends that have done things, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's it can feel really weird, and it's just like you were saying, it's like, oh, okay, who have you contacted, who are you selling to? It becomes this really kind of, like, I just need everybody's a customer, and it gets very frenetic, and it gets just, it gets exhausting. So where I've seen this be very different is a couple of ways. The opportunity is that there isn't other products where it's like, oh, well, it's vitamins, and I could just go get that done at the store, in these other places. I think that this device itself is very unique and has its own value. There's also the side of residual income that I think is really important for us to just address is, yeah, great, we can go sell ourselves, but if we can also work with the people that we're working with that are in our downline and or upline, and actually work and get trained with them and learn and teach. I mean, both teaching in and of itself helps us understand things so much more than just a sales call. When we actually are teaching other people, we actually are like, wow, I never thought about it that way. Yeah, so we get this other feedback, we get all this other information.
So
Yeah,
let's articulate on that just a bit, Michael. So you're
sure.
saying, okay, let's take a hypothetical. Actually, today I'm going to put my order in for my Healy device, right? Okay, so you tell me it's $500. Is that correct for the
Hmm.
baseline model? And it goes
Correct.
up to 2,500 for different modalities that you can dial in with the Healy. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's more software packages and or yeah functionalities, but it really is the device is still the same, and you can always upgrade from there, which is also again a very different thing than most other products.
Okay. And so if I buy this device, or if I buy it from you, I'm actually in your upline. Is that correct?
Yeah, you would be in my network. I mean,
I'm in
because
your network.
yes,
Okay.
correct.
I'm in your co-creative abundance family.
Sure.
Maybe we'll find a way to rephrase this network marketing, but the words are nuanced anyway. What it really
Yeah.
is, hey, if I'm using something and you trust me and I offer my experience to you in a way that feels good, and I empower you to make a decision based on questions or curiosities that you want answered, then it becomes much easier to see how it can become a recurring revenue stream, right?
Hmm.
We've got an ability to have a conversation with someone based on experience. Like I'm going to purchase this because I trust your recommendation. Purely.
Hmm.
I haven't tried it. I'm only going by what I've heard from you. And that now puts me in your network, which in theory, if I bring on somebody by doing just the same thing that you did with me, which is just build trust and integrity, right? And offer your experience. If someone purchases it from me, you also get a residual. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
There it goes down 4 degrees at this current time.
4 degrees. So in theory or in practice, actually, what this means is that you don't have to be selling really anything or anybody. And you don't have to be selling to somebody specifically that you know to receive residual income. You can actually just empower your community, your friends, whoever it is in your community, your network, to do the same thing that you did, and you receive those residuals. Is that kind of the beauty of this model?
Correct. And I will just also say the support is the other component that I think is important for people to, really check and see if they're in line with. I think, just like with you or other people, I feel it's really important to say, well, I'm in this, not just for a quick, sale. I'm not in this for just this part. I actually want to work with you. I actually want to explore other things. And so how do we actually kind of do this in integrity with the people that especially that we want to be in these coherent worlds with. And so just like I had a big real estate brokerage in Chicago for a number of years. This is the same thing. I had the brokerage, we supported our agents, the agents then went out and did the work, but I also am helping create just the value and just this shared uh, resource for all these people, so that we also don't have to just do all the same work ourselves,
Hmm.
so that we can actually share resources, share stories, cases, information, so we don't have to go down the Google rabbit hole and all these other things. So yeah, I think it's those 2 points are really important to make sure that people are clear on.
Okay, so I'm ready to get signed up today. How do I do it? What's the process? And walk me through what happens after. So I mean, just to this amazing point you're making about like the community and the continued support, I think is really important, especially in these times where we're all really looking for that authentic connection in that way. How do how do we get from the point where we're like, yes, this feels really good, this feels like some technology that I can implement into my business,
Mhm.
and I want to get signed up? What's the process like? What can I expect in terms of when to receive the device at this point? I know that Healy's working out some details there, and then what is the follow-up like? What are the expectations for um, how I do this, how I participate in the support?
Sure. Well, the beautiful thing is, what I always like to do is actually kind of be a part of the journey because it's exciting. It's somebody, just like when somebody's getting a home or, these things, kind of like want to like see it through. And because why would you just like drop it off and be like, okay, bye? So I actually like to, help make sure I can actually do it as on my back end. I can actually just have it as a verbal conversation where we just kind of take you through and we get you signed up, and we just kind of get you to that place where then you will actually, of course, because you're doing the credit card information and stuff, you will do that on your end, but I can get you signed up as a member, which we've already done. And but now you're actually moving forward from like, okay, this was curious, I'm good now, I actually want to pull the trigger and get the device. So I just recommend that people just kind of be there for that part, just to make sure that people just feel excited, because when it continues just to feel incoherence, it really it keeps the energy moving forward. So I recommend